Hey guys, it's Miss Austin. We today are going to be learning about rounding to the nearest tens, hundred thousands, millions. So let's get started. First things first, I want to remind you of place value. Place value is super important whenever we're working on numbers. So remember we have our ones, tens, hundreds. Our comma tells us that we're moving into a new grouping of numbers, which then turns to the thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. Another comma, we're now in the millions. So then it'll keep going millions, 10 millions, 100 millions if we keep on going. So this is going to be my cheat sheet. If you have notes, I would definitely go ahead and take a moment, pause the video, and write it down in your journal because it is going to come in handy. Okay, so in order to round, we need to remember something called, or just a little strategy. So if a number in our rounding is 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, we're going to let the number rest. And I'll show you what that means here in a little bit. And then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that means we're going to add one more to the number. And this is something that we worked on at the beginning of the year, so let's go ahead and see what we remember. So our very first problem says to round to the nearest tens place. And what I need to do and what you need to do is figure out what is the tens place. So I'm going to get my cheat sheet back out here. And I know my tens place is right next to the one. So looking at this number, I'm going to move this over. Which number is in my tens place? Here's my tens. I'm going to look right up. I have my 6. The 6 is in the tens place. So I'm going to underline it. That is the last number that I'm going to keep whenever I'm rounding. So I want this to stay as either a 6 or we might be adding one more depending on what we do. So I'm looking at the tens place because my instructions say round to the nearest tens place. I'm going to then take a look next door. Next door tells me everything that I need to know about rounding. So this number is a 2. And looking up on my cheat sheet here, is the 2 in the add one more spot or is it in the let it rest? Well, the 2 is right here. So that means I'm going to let this one rest. So that means this 6 is going to stay the same. It's going to rest. So that means this number is 5. I keep my 5. I did not do anything to my 5, so I'm going to leave it there. My 6, I am letting it rest. So, because the 2 is telling me to let it rest. So then I'm going to have a 6. And anything that is to the right, if I'm letting it rest or adding one more, it is always going to turn into a 0. And notice how I kind of already turned it into a 0. So my new number rounded is 560. Okay, pretty easy there. So let's take a look at another problem here. So I have the number 9,000. I know that's in the thousands place because I have my comma. And if I want to take my cheat sheet, I know my thousands is here and right above it is a 9. So I have 9,837 and I'm still rounding to the tens place. So which number is in my tens place? I'm going to bring back my little cheat sheet and that is the 3. So I'm going to go ahead and underline it. Whenever I'm rounding, I need to look next door. So that means I'm going to take a look at this 7 here. I want to know, is this 7 going to be resting or adding one more? So looking up at my helper here, where is the 7 at? Oh, I see 7 here. That means I'm going to add one more to the place value that I'm working on. So that means this 3 gets added with 1. So 3 plus 1 is 4, right? So I'm going to actually write this one below it. So this is a 4. 7, I have already changed it into a 0. So I'm going to leave that. And these other numbers, I did nothing to them. I want to keep them the same because those numbers are important. I need to keep that place value. So 8 and 9, I'm just bringing those down. So that's how you round to the nearest 10 place. And why do we round? Well, it makes it easier to count or estimate. Instead of saying I have 562 chickens, you could say I have about 560 chickens. Or if you're talking about marbles or whatever, you're able to give more of an estimation. Okay, let's try a couple more that look a little bit different. So here, I have my cheat sheet here again. My 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. My let it rest, add one more. Those are really important for me to remember. And this time I'm going to be rounding to the nearest hundreds place. We just worked with tens, now we're working with hundreds. So my very first number here is 5,632. I'm going to use my place value cheat sheet and try to figure out where my hundreds is. So I know I have ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, but I want the hundreds. So I'm going to see that here's my H. I'm going to underline my hundreds place. And that helps me know what the last digit is that I'm going to keep. So from here, I need to know, is that 6 going to be resting, or is it going to have one more added to it? So I need to look next door. I'm going to go to my next door neighbor here and look at number 3, and I'm going to circle it. Number 3 is in the let it rest or add one more spot. This one is in the let it rest. So that means this 6, I let it rest. I leave it alone. So that means that the 6 is going to come down. The 5 is going to come down. Make sure you bring your commas. I noticed in your work last week, some of you were forgetting your commas. And so what do I do with these last two numbers? I know I need to change this one to a 0. That's why I circled it. But what happens to this 2? Well, I actually change it to a 0 as well because I'm rounding it out. I'm trying to make a big estimated number. So if somebody asks, how much money do you have in the bank? I have $5,600. That's an easy way to estimate. Okay, and let's take a look at this next one that we're rounding to the hundreds. So I know my hundreds is right next to this comma. So I don't even need to use my cheat sheet this time. I'm going to take a look next door. Next door is an 8. So that's telling me that this 3 is going to do what? Round up or round down? Well, this 8 is telling me to round it up, add one more. So that means that 3 plus 1 is 4. And I'm going to just bring down the rest of my numbers. I forgot to circle this guy. So I'm going to go ahead and bring these down and bring down those. So that's how you round to the nearest hundreds. Pretty easy once you get the hang of it. It does take a little bit of time just to remember where you're at. And just for some extra thinking, my last one here for you guys today is we're going to round to the nearest 10,000. So I need my cheat sheet here. And I want to see where my 10,000 is. So 10,000, ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, millions. I know 10,000s is where I'm at. So, whoops, I'm off just a little bit. There we go. My 10,000s is here with the 7. Okay, my millions, I have my comma here, millions, thousands. So 7 is in the 10,000 spot. So I'm going to take a look next door. And it is a 5. So I want to know, what is that 5 going to tell me to do? Is it letting my number rest by rounding down, or is it adding one more to this 7? Well, the 5 is in the add one more spot. So that means that this 10,000 is going, or this 10,000s place, the 7 is going to have one more added to it. 7 plus 1 is 8. Everything on this side turns into a 0. So 0, notice there's a comma. I need to make sure to bring that down. 0, 0, 0. And these two numbers up front, I need to leave alone. 9, 8. So my new number is 8,980,000. And that's all there is to it on rounding to the nearest whole numbers, whatever you're working on. There's going to be another video for you guys to watch that might be a little bit more clear if this one isn't useful to you. And also a little bit of practice for you guys to do. Make sure you are using the steps to know what to do next, okay guys? So good luck. If you have any questions, make sure to reach out to me. Happy learning.